Welcome to Hello Darling Recipes for Life. Today my very special guest is Paula Parore. Singer, writer, performer, mother and wife. Paula will share her journey from struggle to success, her power of reinvention and finding her voice. While we're chatting, we will be enjoying Polish tort prepared by Thermomix. The Polish tort is actually featured on the very first issue of newly published Thermomix magazine. Let's meet Paula. This program is brought to you by Thermomix. Hello, darling. Welcome to the show.
Hello, darling. Thank you for having me.
Paula, thank you for coming, and I'm so looking forward to share your incredible journey. In the meantime, bon appetit.
Yum.
Paula, how and when did you arrive in Australia?
So I moved to Australia in 2007 with my 3 daughters. We had 1 bag each, not a lot of money, and we lived with family for a little while.
How big is your family now?
My family now has gone from 4 of us to 11 of us now.
Incredible. Now, Paula, when you arrived in Australia as a young mother, single mother, you came here to make a better life.
Yes.
And I think that Australia, in a way, has delivered it to you and you made it happen.
Absolutely. Australia's given the most amazing life that we could have ever wished and hoped for.
Tell me the beginning of your career here. And again, Paula Parore, every time I think of your name and I see you performing somewhere, the first thing that comes to my mind is The Voice. How did The Voice find you?
Absolutely. So I think it came back to when my daughters were going to school here in Perth, and we were having a conversation around, what they wanted to be when they were growing up, because they were discussing it in school. And then they asked me, Mum, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I said, I actually wanted to be a singer. And then they just sort of turned it around and said, well, why aren't you? And I kind of looked at myself and I went, good question, why aren't I? And it was more of leading by example for my daughters, and backing up my words. So if I was saying I was going to do something, I actually had to go and do it and show them that, nothing comes from, everything comes from hard work as long as you go and do it. The Voice came about by I was on a website for singers. They sent me a scout code, said we're doing a brand new show that's coming to Australia. Would you be interested in applying? So I sent in a video, and then I got a next audition spot where they came and saw me face to face. Then I got another audition spot where they flew me to Sydney. And then by the time you saw me on TV, I'd already done 3 auditions.
And all judges have turned for you in the blind auditions?
3.
3
judges. So I had Seal, Delta Goodrum, and Joel Madden.
And you became part of SEAL teams?
I did. I picked Seal because he turned around within 3 seconds.
So you picked SEAL?
I picked Seal because I was like, no one's going to turn around for me. I'm a nobody from nowhere. And Seal turned around in 3 seconds. And I think you can see my face in my audition video where I actually go, oh my gosh. And so I had to look somewhere else. And then Delta turned around and I went, oh, wow, everybody's turning and I'm freaking out. So.
And Paula, how was the experience of being coached by Seal?
He smells lovely. And he was a very handsome man. He gave us some really good tips as well about, he said through his career, he knows he's not the best looking, he knows he's not the best singer, but he's the hardest worker. And he said hard work always beats talent.
Hard work always beats talent. So that was your best takeaway from
Absolutely.
From the show?
I live with that today.
And after The Voice, how did it's like receiving an Oscar. A lot of actors say, I don't have work for a while after I got an Oscar. How did The Voice status help you in going forward in a career?
So suddenly I went from having little tiny gigs to singing at the RAC Arena or singing at Optus Stadium. My gigs got bigger. I was flown to Indonesia to sing at weddings, and I was flown back to New Zealand to perform back home as well. And then, so many more opportunities came through just by being on that show.
Incredible. The best experience, if you would be able to go back and repeat one of your career experience, which is obviously, which one would it be?
Apart from The Voice, my most favourite and memorable moment is singing the New Zealand national anthem for the All Blacks versus the Wallabies rugby match here in Perth. That was I was singing for my home country.
Yes.
For my home country in my adopted country.
Incredible.
Yes.
Paula, but it wasn't always a smooth ride. Take me back when you arrived. Now,
Yep.
new country, new continent, $1,000 in a purse,
Yep.
and 3 daughters. Tell me of beginnings.
I think what it was I'd broken up with my children's dad. We'd been together since we were 14, and I was now 30. And what happens is, as you grow up, who you were when you're 14 is not who you are when you're 30 years old. And you kind of drift apart and grow. You know, we would be able to flip each other in 2 seconds to, like, we could say words that weren't nice and just hurt each other for no reason. So we decided to split up, and I just needed a fresh start. So I came to Australia. I was grateful that I had a great support system here. So my auntie and uncle took me in with my 3 daughters, and we went into a big house of 10. So there was 10 of us living in Mindarie. And what I ended up doing, I was working 3 different jobs just to get enough money behind me to have my own house with my daughters. I worked at the Joondalup hospital as an emergency clerk, and I would work 9 p.m. shifts to 7 a.m. because my daughters would be asleep and my auntie could look after them for me. And then during the day, I'd also sell Avon Cosmetics, which is no longer around. And then I would...
Because you sold it all.
Yeah, that's it. I was number 1 seller.
Yes.
And then I would also teach singing. So singing was always something I loved to do. And so I had 3 jobs just to get enough money to...
3 jobs and full-time mom.
Yes.
What would you say would be your advice, a message for any other women, mothers watching us today? How do you go through this kind of a challenge?
Yep.
Life?
Absolutely. I think the hardest part, before you split up, you don't think you can do things by yourself. You think you need the partner there to support you and do everything for you. So when you step away from that and it's just you, you have to rely on yourself. You're allowed to sit there and cry about how life has done you hard and things like that, but I chose not to. I chose to live by example for my daughters, show them that if they want to do something, they just have to work really hard to achieve it. And if you get knocked down, stand back up and carry on. That's what I've been teaching my daughters.
Wonderful. And then destiny made you meet your
husband.
new love, yes?
Yes.
How did you meet?
So we actually met at karaoke. He's also a singer. He's a soul singer, and he's just this most beautiful, kind man. And in all reality, he's not what I was looking for either, because he's a Māori man from New Zealand who's a singer. And I was like, I don't want a Māori man. I don't want to, like, I was just being really fussy. I don't know why. And he's younger than me as well. It is, although he's more of the older spirit and I'm the young one. He always says that. But we met at karaoke. One of our mutual friends put a song up at karaoke, and we've been singing together ever since.
Do you remember what song were you singing when you met at karaoke?
Yeah, so our best friend Jamie, he put up the song Cruisin' by Huey Lewis and Gwyneth Paltrow. And I said to Jamie, I hope he knows how to sing, because the man has the harmony part, which is the hardest line. And unknown to me, he had said the same thing to Jamie, like, she better know how to sing, because I'm really good and she just better be good as well. Well, we had the whole place in silence as they stood there and watched us sing. So we decided, you know what? We sing really well together. Maybe we should do more gigs together. So we were friends for about 4 months. And then his mum kicked him out of his house and said, you're staying at Paula's house all the time, might as well live there. So it just happened quickly.
Before all the happiness happened,
Yes.
and at your beginnings as a young woman from another continent, another country, what did you find most challenging? Did you find the fact that being a woman and knocking on the doors, being a woman, Maori woman, did it help you or did it close more doors than open?
So I think in New Zealand, being a Māori woman hindered me to achieve anything, because life is a little bit different there for my culture and my people. But coming to Australia, my culture wasn't at the forefront. It was being a woman. It was being a woman where doors were shutting. Like, for some reason, they just thought that women can't be managers of bands. They can't look after themselves. They can't do this. So a lot of the time, doors were shut, or I wasn't getting gigs purely because, 1, they didn't know who I was, and 2, it was, woman, you don't know how to do that sort of stuff. And in the end, I like for all the 100 no's you'd get that one yes. And it was always that one time that you could show everybody just how amazing and good you are at your craft and just how professional you can be all the time. So you only ever need that one chance to show the world exactly what you can do. So don't ever throw any of those opportunities away.
And how do you think the world is today? Do you think the world, the women recognition, women power, the boys clubs?
Yeah.
How is the change in your view?
I believe now women are a lot more empowered in life. We have our voice, we're strong, we know what we want, and we will go forward and always voice our opinions. But we're also strong and we're not rude or crass or anything like that. People call it being a diva. I call it being assertive. You have a level of like a standard level that you want. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean you're being a diva. You just know your worth. So I think now women are a lot stronger in voicing their opinions.
You know, I touched on this topic in my other interview about feminists. What is, in your opinion, definition of being a feminist? Are you a feminist in your own terms?
For myself, I'm pro-equality. So it just means if I'm going to go mow the lawn, then my husband will go and do the dishes. We share all the chores together. There's no boy jobs, no women jobs. We just do everything together and we just help each other. That's what I am.
You touch on the different culture, of course. What is the main, in your opinion, what would be the main difference between New Zealand culture and Australian culture regarding women, recognition, or any aspects you would bring as an example?
That's a really good question. I haven't even really thought about that. I think I've always just been a proud Māori woman. So we're treated as queens as well within our culture. Our language is very important to us. Over here in Australia, I think because New Zealand and Australia are like brother and sister, we just have that sibling rivalry. It's always just going to be that sort of way. So I think my culture is accepted quite well over here as well, and especially being a woman.
Do you think that music has the incredible, magical power of connecting people regardless which background, gender, anything they come from? What do you think is the magic of music?
The magic of music is it can transport you anywhere in the world without having to spend a cent. So you can close your eyes and it'll take you exactly where you need to be. It makes you feel emotions that you weren't sure you were going to feel. Singing for me, and especially singing to connect with people, is my favorite type of singing. When I sing, I want to make sure that the message I'm singing is relevant and it's important. So I'm not ever just going to sing words that don't mean anything. I need the song that I'm singing to have relevance and important to share a message.
And you also write music?
Yes, I do.
Yes?
Yes.
What was your best, you released a single a while back, yes?
I did.
What was it called?
So there was a song called Hear Me Cry, and it was about domestic violence and about how women are after domestic violence and how they blame themselves for what's happened to them. And I actually, with that song, I put it on Bandcamp, and when money came through, it was all getting donated to Broken Crayon Still Colour, so Rachel Mack and that, yeah. So it was all about domestic violence and how you can still be empowered and find your strength after that situation.
Why is this cause so close to your heart?
Because I've seen it before. I've been on the end of like verbal abuse and things like that, so it's just kind of, in my culture, it happens a lot as well. And I've seen friends go through it. So just trying to make sure that they're safe and that they had a voice when they have none. So I was trying to be their voice when they didn't have one.
And what would be your message to your daughters, to young women? How do you think we can empower young girls going forward to be women to stand against violence?
Know your worth. Know that you are worth something. You don't have to settle for unkind people, unkind words, unkind situations. You are able to change that, and there are going to be support systems around to help you get out of any situation you don't want to be in.
Back you sang at the Men in Black Ball in 2012, the beautiful song Back to Black.
Yes.
And it takes me back to talk and think about men. In my opinion, we have to help to fix men because only broken men choose violence
Yes.
against women
Absolutely.
as their cry for help.
Mm-hmm.
What can be done? What do you think can be done in young, and how young can we start educating young people?
I think at the moment now, so my grandson is 8 and his parents have split up. So he's seen what can happen in those situations, and we've just learnt to talk more with him, open up communication, allow him to feel his emotions, because he was feeling very frustrated and he'd lash out at the world. So we've had conversations, I think, doing it at any age, especially our young children, because we're trying to make sure our young people grow up to be strong, good people. So if we see things that are happening when they're young, I think just talking to them, letting them have emotions. My big thing is men are allowed to cry. Don't tell little boys they're not allowed to cry. That's not fair. They have emotions just like the rest of us. And what happens is if they keep that emotion in, it's got to come out somewhere. And you don't want it to come out in violence. You want it to come out with like conversation or in a good, safe environment. Like it's not a demeaning thing to cry, and men need to be able to do that as well.
Do you find that the incredible presence of social media in our lives and young lives cuts the avenues of connection with the children and limits it to the degree that families become disconnected?
I think it can, but I think if you've got a family that's open and honest with communication and the rules around social media and being on social media, I think it can be looked after or managed well, because we can't really disconnect our kids from social, because that's the world at the moment. The internet is important. That's how they get all the information. But just knowing how to manage it and make sure that they're safe from what's on the internet. That's the main point of it. So not letting them go in the room and play on Fortnite, talking to random people, being there, listening to conversations and be like, who was that? Get off that thing now. So, just being aware.
So it sounds like you managed to be friends with your daughters?
Yes.
Not just the supervising mom?
No.
Whom did you look up when you were younger, before you became performer, artist, writer?
In life was always my mum. So my mum was the stay-at-home mum that looked after myself and my brother. She always had the house beautifully clean. We were up, fed, and we weren't a rich family, but we never went without. Like, we always had food, and I realised these days that my mum must have sacrificed so much, because back when I was younger, did every single sports under the sun. Netball, basketball, touch rugby, athletics, volleyball, everything. And I would have a rehearsed, practice every day after school. That stuff is expensive.
Of course.
And marching. Marching was super expensive, and yet my parents made sure that I had all of those opportunities to do those sorts of things. So my mum and my dad were my heroes, and I always looked up to them. And they always were tough, but they were fair. So that's how I live my life as well.
What's next for Paula Parore? I think you're celebrating some kind of a milestone now at Christmas.
Yeah, so December the 8th, my husband and I are at the Astor Theatre. So every year we do a show called A Merry Motown Christmas. And this is going to be our last one as our performing duo. So we've got a band, but I think for myself, I'm tired, and I kind of want to put my focus back into my family, into my health. And everyone's like, you're not going to just stop singing. No, I won't stop singing. But for now, I just need to have a bit of a break. And maybe it'll re-inspire me to come back and sing more, maybe.
I have no doubt that your short break will bring you back to something bigger.
Maybe.
Maybe another single.
Maybe.
How long does it take to release single?
Not too long. If you put your mind to it, it can take a month or so if you want to.
And what inspires you when you write? Does it just come?
It just comes.
Just
Sometimes
comes.
it'll be something on the news, it'll be a story I've seen of some sort, it'll be a situation within my family, or it could potentially just be some random thought I had while I was dreaming. And I'll just write about that.
I think it's time to have another bite of this beautiful Polish torte.
Torta.
Bon appetit.
Thank you.
So this is the...
So good.
This is the cover girl of the first edition of the Thermomix, the newly published magazine, with incredible recipes.
Including
Isn't
yep.
it delicious?
It's so delicious. I think I might have to get myself a Thermomix as
This
well.
is really delicious. Thermomix done it all for us. Paula, the recipe for the torta is there. What's your recipe for life?
My recipe for life? Be kind. Be kind always. You don't know what sort of day people are having. Even if they've been grumpy at you, they've had something that set them off. Just always be kind. Lead your life with kindness.
And what would you tell Paula that is 15 today?
Keep going. Don't give up. World will get better.
And if I give you now a magic wand,
Yes.
and you have 2 wishes, one for yourself
Yep.
and one for the world, what would be your wishes?
My wish for the world would be no more wars, no more fighting, just being kind, looking after one another as human beings. My wish for Paula, happy, healthy, look after my children. I think I'm already doing that, so maybe my wish has already come true.
Yes, and thank you for being on my show, and thank you for the music.
Thank you for having me.
And all the best for your future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bon appetit.